Hi, I'm Angie with Gamercrafting, and it has been 1 whole month since my last podcast confession. Hey everyone, I know it's been a bit of a hiatus since the last podcast. I am back and I have some scheduled stuff in after talking to some of you about what you would like to see more in the podcast. So I'm going to give you kind of a brief rundown of why I've not been around the last month with podcasts. We've still been doing our live streams, but the podcast, not so much. Basically, podcasts take a lot of time and effort. It's the better part of a day between recording and editing and uploading and everything, and it's a lot of work, and I've been busy wallowing. So I have a visa renewal coming up in October, which, as many of you know, is kind of the deadline for the Brexit stuff, which is why I'm a little stressed out, because who knows what's going to happen. No one can really give me any sort of answers one way or another. And if you're wondering why I'm American and talking about Brexit as a reason for immigration, you'll know that I've talked in past podcasts about why that is. Basically, I live here on an EU visa and it's all very complicated, and thusly it's quite stressful. It's quite stressful with all of this coming up in October, so I've been kind of preoccupied with that. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, I was posting a while back, a few weeks ago, I guess it was now. I had announced about 6 months ago that I finished a novel, and I was really proud of it, and I was really happy with it, and I sent it out, and it actually got picked up by a publisher, and I was thrilled. I was over the moon. I'm so excited, and I got back edits from the editor and completed the manuscript like 100%, totally complete, ready to go to printing, sent the manuscript off. They got me some cover art, and then I found out via a tweet that the entire publisher is folding, they're closing down, that's it, all pending books canceled. Everyone who already had books published with them, the rights are reverting, so the book is not getting published now. Well, at least not by that publisher. I've been up to here, somewhere, not even up to my neck, but somewhere up to here, in researching self-publishing, researching other agents and publishers, and it's a lot to take in if you're not familiar with the industry, which I am not. You want to talk about yarn? Cool. I know loads of stuff about yarn. You want to talk about publishing? And I feel a little bit like a babe in the woods. I feel totally out of my depth. And honestly, it's one of the reasons I've not been around as much. I've been feeling really kind of garbagey about it. And I know that it's no personal reflection of myself or of the book that I wrote. It's just the fact that the publisher had cash flow problems, but it still sucks. And I'm still wallowing, and yeah. So between the visa renewal coming up in October and the book getting canceled, which I thought was going to be kind of a bright spot of 2019, and now I'm finding out that it's not going to be, is kind of a bummer. And I've been in kind of a bummed mood, and I haven't really been creative, and I haven't been working on my new book. And so I've been working really hard to kind of redirect my creativity and focus more on writing the new book and researching this publishing thing and dyeing some new yarns. And last week I went to Fibre East, so I'm going to show you a very quick snapshot of what went down at Fibre East. So I went to Fibre East 2019, and it was a blast. It was a little bit rainy, but far preferable to the super hot day that preceded just a few days prior. I wandered around for a while looking for the third vault yarn stand, which I did eventually find, as you will see. There were so many amazing vendors that I really wish that I'd had more time to talk to, but unfortunately my time at Fibre East was brief. I only had the morning and a little bit of the afternoon to be able to try and talk to everybody that I wanted to, but unfortunately I probably still missed some absolutely amazing vendors and people. Alright, so I've walked through the show and I've now reached the third vault yarn stand where Lola and I are launching a collaboration today. So there's the mini set that we dyed, which is in the other podcast. And there's Lola's skein. And there's my skein. And over here is the shawl. And I will walk and get a close up in just a second. So here's the shawl called Tenet Terra, and Lola designed the shawl. And so this is with the mini set, and then this is with her main skein. I didn't get my sample quite yet, so I'll show you when it's done. But at this rate, they are all going to be sold out by the time that it shows up. This is the narrator voiceover to tell you that they did indeed sell out, but Lola and I are hard at work on planning the next collaboration, which will likely use the same pattern and a similar mini skein. Hey, look who I found! Unfortunately, I didn't get much of a chance to talk to Diana or many of the other vendors at any length. The Saturday was so busy and full of amazing yarn enthusiasts that I didn't get a chance to talk to people at any length, and I certainly didn't want to be bothering them or cluttering up their stand with a camera when I wasn't actually going to be buying anything. So I just wandered around instead, and that is the footage that you are seeing right now. I was lucky enough to travel to Fibre East with my Stitch and Bitch group, comprised of some lovely, lovely friends and people who I treasure very much in this world. So then I thought I would show you what I have been up to. I did get back some of my dye mojo after buying some new dyes from Siobhan's Crafts at Fibre East, and I promptly made a fool of myself. And good morning. I wanted to show you what happens when you don't test brand new dyes before you use them. So as you can see, I just plonked a bunch of dye in the middle there and then smushed it out. But this dye obviously really wants to be in a lower concentration to get the color that I want. So in the middle here is where I plonked the dye, and that's that really sort of dark browny color, which is not what I wanted. But then you look here on the edges and you get a much more vibrant green, which is what I wanted. So I'm actually going to be using this skein now that I've sort of messed it up to kind of experiment and see how these new dyes that I bought that are being milled in the UK, thanks to another indie dyer called Siobhan's Crafts, I'm going to see how they compare to dyes that I know and that I'm familiar with. So if you'll give me just a second. Too many dyes. There we go. So I'm going to be comparing this dye, which is called Tennis Ball, and it's not a green that I've had before. And I'm going to use the same amount of dye, I'm just going to use it like right next to it. This is just for testing purposes. So this is the green that I usually use for sort of a neon green. So as you can see, I can be a little bit more aggressive with the green that I'm used to, probably because I'm used to it. But it doesn't quite have the same luminance as this one does at the edges, which is what I want. So this means when I go to use this new dye, I should have tested it beforehand. Got a little bit cocky there. This means when I go to use this dye here, it means that I'm going to want it to be in a much, the depth of field of the dye needs to be much less than I'm used to with the lime pop dye, which is good because it means that it'll go further, and it also means that I get this really nice green, like luminant green over here that is actually UV reactive. Whereas this is just, it's a nice lime green, but it's not UV reactive, I don't think. Okay, so knowing now that these dyes require a lot less, I'm using much less dye than I was before. So this is an orange that I'm testing against an orange that I know and I'm familiar with. This is typically what I do when I test dyes. I also tend to do a speckle test when I get new dyes to see how they break out. Okay, so this orange will also want pre-mixing the way this one does, so I don't end up with much darker areas. But I am liking that you can see some of the areas are very luminant. So I'll compare that to an orange dye that I'm familiar with. This is a whole 5 skeins as well, which is why I definitely should have tested that middle one before I got started. But hey, live and learn. I mean, it's not even learning, I should know that already. Okay, so here's the orange that I'm used to using. Obviously I'm using a bit more dye because it works a bit different. So this dye, as you can see, is a bit darker. And I can almost even smush it all the way out to the edges. So it's a bit darker and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Deeper. It's a bit deeper than the orange, than the new orange that I'm trying. I'll see how this one looks when I'm done with it, and if it's any good, maybe I'll just call it oops. Okay, so now you can see here, this was the new orange. I'll give you a nice close-up. This was the new orange here, and this is the orange that I'm used to using, and then I sort of smushed it out to the edges. This here was the new green that I tested, or I didn't even test it, I was just like, it'll be fine. But obviously it needs a much shallower depth of field in order to get the bright luminant green that I'm after, not this sort of darker mossier green. And then here's the green that I'm used to using, sort of a limey green. So just a reminder that this is the kind of thing you're paying for when you buy indie dyed yarn, is for us to actually use bunches of yarn and dye in order to figure out what works best for everything. I'm just going to quickly put some lids back on these pots because I really don't want that falling on the floor. I would never get rid of it. Okay, so now I'm going to test the neon pinks, which from the way that they look in the pot, this is the pink, I'm going to guess it's probably pretty similar to the one that I use already. So I'm going to use it the same way that I would use mine, basically. Open. Sesame. Alright, so I know that because this is a neon, if it behaves the same way that mine does, I know that I don't need very much at all. Which is good because neon dyes are much more expensive, typically, or they can be much more expensive. So here's the new pink. Oops. So here's the new pink. Giving it a big old smush around there. And now I'm going to show you the pink that I'm used to using. That's looking like a big neon crazy mess, isn't it? So here's the pink that I usually use. As you can see, it looks pretty similar in the tub, so I'm hoping that it's kind of similar. And then I'll show you in a second why I should have realized that the green would be different. I mean, I guess I realized it would be different, but not that different. And with regards to usage, anyway. Okay, got a little bit of dye here. Okay, I'm just going to plonk it into this corner. And I'm going to smoosh it. Okay. So that pink is pretty similar. The new one is maybe slightly more luminous than mine, but I think that it'll be a good enough substitute. I can always add a little bit more of this if I needed a darker pink, but I don't usually use the pinks for that. I usually use it to get that sort of lighter, more neon fluorescent. So I think that that's going to work out really well. This green, I need to cook the yarn now to see if any of these dyes change while cooking, which totally can happen. I have some dyes that look mega dark, and then you cook it and you're just like, oh, that's nothing at all. So I need to see how this is going to work out, because if you look underneath, that
that sort of really bright, luminous green, that's what I want. So if it kind of cooks out a bit lighter, then that's going to be really cool. I don't think that it's going to be a suitable substitution for the green that I already have, but I think it's going to be another really good addition to my very many, my very, very many greens. And same thing for this orange. I really like the new orange, and I'm definitely going to use it for a lot of stuff, but I don't think that it's a substitute necessarily for the orange that I already had. It's just going to be another addition. And then I still have to test the yellow, but I am told that the yellow is chemically identical to the one that I already have, so the yellow should be fine. So I was less worried about testing that one because it's meant to be chemically identical, and that's how they were milled. So okay, so I'm going to pop a lid on this, and I'm going to cook it for a while, and I'm going to see I'm going to see what happens and see how it all cooks out. So stay tuned.
I wanted to show you all what that yarn that I was working on with the new dyes looked like when it was done. So that's this one here. It's still wet, that's why it's not skeined up, plus I wanted you to be able to see kind of what it looks like. So as you can see, I didn't go back and fill in the white spots because it was kind of an oops. But here you can see this was the brighter orange. So like the newer orange, it's a little bit more kind of luminescent compared to, this is the orange that I usually use. So it's a bit deeper, not as luminescent, but maybe a bit more full coverage, if that makes sense. So then up here, this was the new green, where I had splodged it on and immediately been like, oh no, I shouldn't have dyed like that. I should have dissolved it first, because every dye is different, and sometimes they just need to be dissolved rather than speckling with if you want a certain effect. So as you can see, it did kind of cook up a bit lighter, because it looks, if you look back at the earlier footage, it looks much browner initially, whereas this it has kind of an undertone, but it's still pretty green. It's a dark green, but still pretty green. So it does cook up a bit lighter, and it does have this really nice kind of luminescentness to it here. But if you look on this side, this is the green I usually use, that I can speckle with and everything, and there's not tons of difference. I know that this one is technically UV reactive, whereas I'm not sure if that one is. I don't exactly have a blue light. I don't exactly have a black light to hand to test it. But just for non-UV reactive colors, I probably prefer the green that I'd had before, because it's a bit more all-purpose. And then up here I had tested the pinks, which both kind of ended up pretty similar, if I'm honest. This is obviously some of the green that's bled up the skein here. So I wanted to show you some of the new stuff that's going to be in the next shop update. So this here, still a little bit wet again, so it's not skeined up. This is called Kansas River Crossing. And so it's got this really nice sort of turquoisey blue in the middle, and then just like loads and loads and loads and loads of speckles on either end here of this like deep sort of navy blue. Obviously this is inspired by the Oregon Trail game that we play during our live streams, which is, we don't play it every week, but we do play it quite a lot, and there's been a lot of requests for some Oregon Trail yarn, so I felt like I had to oblige. And then we have this, which is kind of similar, but it has a lot more green in the fiber, and also there's no speckles at either end. It's just pure undyed. So I'm calling this one Where Is My Super Suit, which if you've seen the first Incredibles movie is what Frozone says when he's arguing with his wife. And I honestly think that Frozone is the best character in The Incredibles, and I just thought it would be funny to do one based off of his super suit, which is kind of blue and white. So here I have what I had initially been going for when I was dyeing yarn using the new dyes that I ended up turning into a bit of a, not a tutorial, but a bit of a chat about behind the scenes stuff. So this is called You Have Died of Dysentery. As you can probably tell if you're familiar with Oregon Trail, is based on the colors in the deluxe updated dames. So not the super original one that was just black and lime green. This was the updated version that I think came out in 1992 or 94. So this really neon pink up here, and this really bright green in the middle and sort of these bright aquas and stuff, and it's gonna look absolutely beautiful when it's actually skeined up. Okay, so my gimbal just died, so apologies for this probably quite wobbly rest of this. So this is a sock blank I have dyed in the same style as the emo rainbow sock blank, if you're familiar with that one. But this one is on a silverier, brighter base with neon dyes, and I have decided to call it Palace Arcade after the arcade in Stranger Things. Obviously the final season came out just a few weeks ago, and obviously we binged it the very first weekend, so that's called Palace Arcade. And I'm really happy with how that one turned out. And then I also have here another new yarn. This is called Dragon Bash, as you can see. And this is a really bright silver with pops of neon pink and purple and green. And this was inspired from the Dragon Bash event in Guild Wars 2. It's over now. I did dye this towards the beginning of the event, but I've not had time to do a shop update as of yet. And then the final new thing that's going to be in the shop update, probably I might add a Skeletor yarn that I actually have in the pot right now as I record this, but I don't know if it'll be ready in time. This is called Snack. I will show you how that is spelled. So it's a silly spelling of snake. And this is a new technique that I'm playing with, but I'll be honest with you, I'm obsessed. I think it's beautiful, it's stunning, I love it. It's probably one of my favorite things I've ever dyed. And this is also inspired from Oregon Trail, from everyone who gets snake bites. So as you can see, this has got sort of speckles and pops of color on this really sort of charcoaly base, which is really lovely. And again, that's the Dysentery, Super Suit, Kansas River Crossing. Here we've got the Dragon Bash. And this was the test yarn. And there is my gimbal, which decided to die mid filming. Thanks a lot, buddy. I know I haven't charged you in a month, but still. So that's kind of what I've been up to the last month. I've been working on some new dyes, and I've been wallowing a lot. And I went to Fibre East last week, and I've been dyeing up a load of new stuff for the shop update this week. If you're up for that, then join the newsletter list. I'll drop a link into the description. Newsletter subscribers get at least a few hours jump on everyone else when there's a brand new shop update. So if you've seen something that you really have your eyes on, then definitely head over there and subscribe. Also, I wanted to show you, I am actually wearing a finished object. I'm actually wearing it. I, who never finish anything, especially since I gave up being a monogamous knitter, I decided, no, I'm going to go wherever the creativity takes me. And now I have 12 unfinished things. 12. That's at least 3 or 4 more than that massive work in progress podcast I did a while back, because I went and cast on new things, because I cannot be controlled or trusted on Ravelry. So I saw loads of these floating around on Instagram, and I just had to make one. This is the Ripple Bralette by Jessie May. She is on Instagram. I will drop a link to the pattern in the description. It's super customizable. It's sized up to 5X, I think. So she's super size inclusive. Her designs are an absolute delight to make. I so enjoyed making this. It was interesting enough that I didn't get bored, but it was simple enough that it was good for just some mindful knitting as I deal with all of my emotional turmoil. And I had loads of fun knitting with it, and it's really good for just really fun yarn. So this, I knit mine with my own 5x5 yarn, which was part of the Buffy collection. And I super love how it worked up. I had sort of expected it to pool a little bit more given the way that I dyed it, but it didn't for this pattern, and it looks amazing. Mind you, I don't have a problem with pooling. I think it can be really fun. I was just surprised. So I used 5x5 because I've always wanted to use it for something. And I'm definitely going to make another Ripple bralette, but I think the next one I make is going to be slightly longer. And then she has some new designs coming out really soon. If you check out her Instagram, that I definitely want to make. She's got another bralette coming out with it. It's got a bit more like interest and structure in the front. And the straps are a double knit I-cord, which I don't think I've ever done a double knit I-cord before, just like a single I-cord. And then you have the choice of regular straps or crisscross. I chose crisscross, which is mine's kind of headed up around my neck there. So I loved this knit. I had so much fun with it, and it's relatively quick as well. even though it is 4-ply. She has some other designs coming out, but I am super mega excited, and I love this. And as you can see, I'm just like chilling here in a shirt, in a shirt and a bralette, because it is hot. It is hot and clammy, and to be honest, as soon as I turn this podcast recording off, this shirt is not going to be on anymore. It's way too hot for this. It's just clammy and humid, and you've heard me say it before, but I hate summer. Give me winter with knitwear and blankets and Doc Martens and tall socks and boot cuffs. I am there. Summer, I am just a crabby, slimy beast. Just no, hate it. So I did actually finish this. I actually cast on and started it since the last time I made a podcast, which is shocking and has never happened before and probably will never, ever, ever happen again. I've also made quite a bit of progress on my northeasterly blanket, but it is so huge and unwieldy now, I'm not even going to show you. Maybe I'll show you next time once I've got these two massive pieces put together. I am making the northeasterly blanket with my Nihilist Rainbow Blanket Club. So far, I love it. I'm using chunky yarn, which the northeasterly wasn't necessarily designed for, but I freaking love it. So I've been working a lot on that. I am a couple months behind because it's been so hot. I don't really want to work on a blanket sitting in my lap because then I'll just, no. So I am a couple months behind, but hopefully once it starts cooling off a little bit in September, I'll be able to just whip through it and get caught up and show you all this amazing completed blanket. And then there will be blanket subscriptions, of course, open for next year. Once we get a bit closer to next year, we're nowhere near close enough yet. Although there are advent calendar signups. If you want to split the cost over 3 months, that's open. They are almost sold out, just so you know. And what else have I been up to? Oh, so not this week, but next week. So the 10th, 8th, 9th, 10th. The 10th of August, we will be doing a birthday bash live stream at 9 p.m. British Summer Time on YouTube, here on YouTube. For those of you who regularly come to our live streams, no worries, just show up as normal. If you are brand new to the live streams, definitely come along and have some fun. We're going to be giving away a huge mammoth-sized grand prize, a sweater size quantity, and that's dependent on you. I don't know what a sweater size quantity for everybody out there is like, but a sweater size quantity for you in whatever dye you want. I will do it all as one dye batch in whatever weight and whatever. And in order to enter, we're going to be starting up a Just Giving page. For every £5 that you give to Raíces, which is the charity in the U.S. that's helping reunite families on the border, on the U.S.-Mexico border. We've fundraised for them before, and we're going to do it again because the problem is not getting better. It's only getting worse. And in order to enter to win the grand prize, it'll be based on charity donation. So for every £5 you donate to Raíces on the night, you'll have an entry into the big, giant grand prize draw. And we'll also be giving away other smaller things the way we have done with previous live streams. We'll be giving away small gift certificates, we'll be giving away 3 shipping codes, so on and so forth. So definitely tune in. So that is August the 10th, Saturday at 9 p.m. British Summer Time. It's to celebrate, I guess, my birthday and Sarah's birthday, which was about a week ago. We're about a couple weeks apart in age. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to be doing trivia. And it's going to be a total blast. So definitely come along for the Giant Birthday Bash live stream. And other than that, I guess I'm going to call it that. I'm going to call it a podcast. So tune in next time. We're going to be taking a journey behind the green screen. I'm going to take you on a tour of our super small flat because I complain about it all the time. And I complain about how we have no space. And I kind of want to show you just how no space we have. So tune in next time for Junior Behind the Green Screen, and make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. And I will see you next week for another podcast. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.